Good afternoon, everyone. Councilmember Hillis, Chair of the Public Safety Committee. We're glad to be back here in Committee Room 1 for the first time in probably over 2 years. So I am joined today to my far left by Councilmember Waits, Councilmember Norwood, Councilmember Overstreet, and to my immediate right, Councilmember Boone, our Vice Chair, Councilmember Amos, and Councilmember Bond. And we do constitute a quorum. We will be accepting a walk-in today, a paper having to do with the courts due to a deadline that's coming up in a couple weeks. So I will make a motion to amend the agenda to add that walk-in. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Overstreet. Please prepare the vote.
The vote is open.
Waits says aye.
Five yeas, one abstention.
Thank you. That is approved as amended.
Oh, that's wrong. Boone is a yay. I'm sorry. Boone is a yay.
Yes, please reflect
Yes.
Councilmember Boone's vote as
Yes.
a yay.
Thank you.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. That agenda is adopted as amended. Or excuse me, that was on the amendment. We now need to adopt as amended, so I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Overstreet. Please prepare the vote.
The vote is open. Seven yeas, 0 nays.
All right, that is adopted as amended. 7 yeas, 0 nays. Now on to the approval of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Norwood. Please prepare the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Minutes of the prior meeting are approved. We will now move on to public comment. First up, we have Henri Jordan.
In the unto the Spirit of God, everyone that's here. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritual minded is life and peace. Romans 8, chapter 6, verse. To be controlled by the flesh is death, and to be controlled by Jesus' Spirit is life. James Griff, when you are controlled by the flesh, it leads to death. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. Romans 13, chapter 3, verse. The minister of God to thee for good. The purpose of human government is to uphold the good and punish the evil. They shall not put you out, they shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God's service. John 16, chapter 2nd verse. The early persecutions involved persecutions of the Christian leaders, the apostles by the Jewish leaders, primarily the priests. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. 1 Corinthians 1st chapter 27 verse. I don't like appearing foolish and weak. If it glorifies Jesus, let it be. But it was for my correction. Thus said the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh his flesh his arm, and whose heart departed from the Lord. Jeremiah 17, chapter 5th verse. You can't control Jesus. I don't control Jesus. Yea, what Jesus did in me is for his glory, not mine nor yours. We need to obey Jesus because he has more for us than we have for ourselves. He holds our lives in his hand. By your deeds unrighteous or righteous deeds.
Next, Prophet Tony Curtis Hairston.
Hey, how y'all doing? Praise the Lord today. God is good. Again, this is Prophet Tony Curtis Hairston. Martin Hairston. Like T.C. Martin, like Jamal Harrison Bryant. Those people. Okay, I'm gonna make this brief, I guess, because evidently I'm not being heard. And I'm on your bus. I'm on your bus, your trains. Marta already stole $3 million. I'm on your three. Much less what's going on in Buckhead with all these dogs, people sicking their dogs on you. Now, I'm on your train the other night. In short, I'm on your train the other night. I'm waiting on the train. It's 1:30 in the morning. No, it's 12:45 in the morning. I'm on the train waiting for a train for 30 minutes, and then they cancel that train. Marta cancels that train. So I got to walk home now. So they walk the corridor there, right over here, and see how many black people on the train. Then after they see there was only black folk on the train corridor, they stopped. They canceled the train. See, that type of stuff, that's the reason why people are arguing with bus drivers. That's the reason why they got holes in bus drivers and buses. Those are the reasons. See, y'all don't know that unless guys like me come and tell you that. So you understand where I'm coming from. Now, number two, with Marta. I'm waiting on your Marta bus for 45 minutes on the north side. He shows up. I got the video of it right here on this phone. I'm gonna show y'all this video. I'm waiting on the bus for I'm waiting on the bus for 45 minutes, 2-3 late buses. Bus driver shows up, he cusses me out. He says, I don't know who you think you're talking to. You this, you that, you. And this is a black guy. Okay, and I'm saying to him, bro, this is a modern system. He said he ain't late, but he wants 250. Those are the reasons why the buses sometimes need repairing. See, y'all don't understand that because it don't affect you. You don't feel my pain. You don't feel that pain? Because you ain't waiting on the bus. You got a nice old house and a nice old car. Much less homeless people dying on your streets. So you don't feel that pain yet. So it's okay for you, it's okay for me to feel that pain, but it's not okay for you to feel that pain. See, those type of things that we need answers to and things need to stop.
All right, that completes our public comment. We will now move on and handle our communications. We can skip over the first one since it's my understanding that appointee is not with us, but if we can take items 2 and then 3, so we'll be respectful of their time. Thank you.
Item number 2, 22C 5052, a communication from Chief Rodney Bryant, Atlanta Police Department, appointing Deputy Chief Carvin Tyers to serve as a member of the Public Safety Commission.
Brian, if you'd like to say anything, and then we'd also like to hear from Deputy Chief Tyus.
Good evening. Getting used to this new look. This is the first time I've been in here in a while, but I wanted to appoint Deputy Chief Carvin Tyers. Deputy Chief was just recently appointed at the beginning of the year as Deputy Chief over Community Services. I think that his appointment to this board will be beneficial not just to our city of Atlanta, but he will be able to provide guidance from the City of Atlanta Police Department at the highest level as a deputy chief. He's served in many roles throughout our department. He's currently over the Community Service Division.
Thank you, Chief Bryant. Deputy Chief Tyus, would you like to say a few words on this appointment?
Good afternoon. As he said, I'm Deputy Chief Carvin Tice of the Community Service Division. First of all, thank Chief Bryant for nominating me. And I'll just say to the committee, if I'm nominated, I look forward to a very productive and collaborative working with this committee. As he said, I've been here 28 years, worked in a myriad of assignments. I've been a supervisor or an officer in most of the assignments here, from homicide to SVU, hostage negotiations, internal affairs. So I bring a wealth of knowledge to the board, and I just want to collaborate with everybody that's going to be a part of that commission, and so that we can all work together and achieve a safe Atlanta. So thank you all for consideration.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Tice. We do have a few committee members that appear to have some tough questions for you. Councilmember Boone.
Deputy Chief, just wanting to thank you for your willingness to continue to serve. You did a magnificent job in Zone 4. We never had a chance to tell you before you moved on to a higher position, but your responsiveness to the citizens of Atlanta has not gone unnoticed, and I would like to move approval at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Boone.
Councilmember Overstreet.
So now I know why you left us at Zone 4. You are moving on to bigger and better things, but still the Atlanta community gets to really reap the benefits of your service. And yes, you do bring a wealth of knowledge in a variety of ways, and I really appreciate you being willing to serve the way that you do. Just like Councilmember Boone says, you were completely responsive and hands-on. So not just the expertise. You don't actually just have your leadership roles in a high position and look down and tell everyone what to do, but you actually came and were hands-on and engaged the entire time that you were the zone commander of Zone 4, and I really appreciate that about you. So I would like to second the motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Tice. I believe we've had an official motion by Councilmember Boone and a second by Councilmember Overstreet. Please prepare the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed.
7 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Next item, please.
Item number 3, 22C 5053, a communication from Nicola Hines, President, League of Women Voters of Atlanta, Fulton County, submitting the appointment of Ms. Sharice Reyes, Esquire, to serve on the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. This appointment is for a term of 3 years.
All right, Ms. Reyes, if you'd come up and share a little bit about yourself and your willingness to serve on this committee.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon to the committee and to all those in attendance. My name is Sharice Reyes, and I am a resident of District 9, and I'm represented by Chairperson Mr. Hillis. I'm honored to be here on the nomination of the League of Women Voters of Atlanta, Fulton County for membership on the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. I am a good candidate for membership because I have the experience, a demonstrated interest in social action in the Atlanta area, and the ethical integrity necessary to serve in such a serious position. In terms of experience, in my professional capacity, I currently serve as the Deputy Associate General Counsel for General Law at the Social Security Administration. I have over 16 years as a licensed attorney, but 13 years specifically dealing with employment actions. In that capacity, I have overseen and provided advice on investigations. I have drafted and trained on our agency's harassment investigations and process. And I have also handled more than 36 cases from advice investigation through hearing related to adverse actions. I take that job very seriously. And so with my experience, I believe it will work well to serve the mission of the ACRB. For example, they are charged with accepting complaints, conducting investigations, and conducting hearings as needed. And like I said, I have over a decade of experience in such matters. In addition to my professional experience, I have a demonstrated interest in social action. With me today are several of my sorority sisters. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I have served as the chair of our Social Action Committee for several years. And in that capacity, we have taken on certain national agenda items that have come down from our National Social Action Commission, and one of them was improving police relations in certain communities, in particular communities of color. And so we have carried on various forums and discussions with citizens in the Atlanta area about how we can best do that. And one of the things we know is that in order to do that, you have to restore that trust in the police department. I think that is done through having the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. So because it provides that level of transparency to the community that when there are allegations that they will be properly investigated and that the community will have a voice in that process. And lastly, I mentioned my ethics and integrity in serving in such a serious position. The Atlanta Citizen Review Board is entrusted with a very serious job, and I would take that very serious to provide a fair and neutral and impartial review of accusations and complaints that are made to that board. Simply put, like I said, I have the experience, I have the demonstrated interest in social justice, and in particular improving community relations with law enforcement, and I have the ethical integrity to carry that out in a fair, neutral, and impartial manner. And I'd like to thank my children for supporting me today, Mario Jr. and Amaya.
Nice.
I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Motion by Councilmember Bond, and I will second that motion, and I will say very glad to have you as a constituent, and thank you for your service, both professionally and in the community, and looking forward to your service to the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. It's been motioned by Councilmember Bond, second by Councilmember Hillis. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Councilmember Boone.
Welcome aboard. Welcome, and I know you will do just a fine job, and you also have some AKAs up here supporting you.
It's a serious matter.
Okay.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, 7 yeas, 0 nays. This is favorable. This will move on to the Committee on Council next Monday and the full council, but you will not need to reappear, Ms. Reyes. Thank you very much. We will go back to our presentations now. Our first presentation is the Atlanta Police Department's quarterly report. Chief Rodney Bryant.
Again, good evening again. Rodney Bryant, Chief of the Atlanta Police Department. I'll start off thank you. I'll start off on our crime as it relates to where we are, our most recent crime report ending of last week. Right now we are even as it relates to where we were with overall crime, seeing this an increase in the area of person crimes. I think what you're seeing in that 2% is the area, an increase in the area of homicides and rape. The interesting thing about rape is more than 90% of the individuals involved in those rapes have been identified. So we're not seeing anything that is tremendously unusual as it relates to this. We're just seeing more reporting of it, and it actually correlates more in line with the incidences that we were seeing in 2019, which was a most stabilizing year. Our homicide number continued to increase on us. The most concerning thing about what we're seeing with homicide is aggravated assaults, which generally is a prerequisite to a homicide. Those numbers we are seeing decreases in. This is not typical. Normally, you would see both of those numbers increase at the same rate, or there's some level of correlations. Here, we're seeing aggravated assault numbers decrease where homicide numbers are increasing. We'll have to continue to do a deeper dive into determining why we are seeing that disparity in the numbers. The property crimes, however, we continue to see that at below the average of we're 1%. As we go into the spring, we generally see those numbers increase, and then after we get into the summer, once summer break kicks in, property crimes will tend to go down, particularly in the areas of burglary. Additionally, we would have implemented our summer plan, which generally comes out right before May, and so you'll see us have a greater impact as it relates to property crime. The one that does stand out the most, and I think is important that we recognize, is what we're seeing around motor theft. For the past couple of years, those numbers continue to increase on us, and we were very challenged in the space of auto theft. I think this is one of the things that we have to account for. This is the great work of our investigators as well as our ACE unit, Auto Crime Enforcement Unit, who do a tremendous job, as well as our commanders. Particularly the areas that we would see this in is in Zone 5, and Zone 5 has done a phenomenal job of really making sure that they're addressing the issues as we are seeing as it relates to crime overall. Make sure on this next slide, did I go too far? Yeah. On this next slide, this is actually the quarter report. What we had was 43 homicides from January to March 31st, 46 rapes from January 1st to 31st. The overall numbers, again, as it relates to what you're seeing on this slide, were reduced with the exception of both homicide and rapes for the first part of the quarter. The second slide indicates where we are as of April the 20th from January 1. So this is really a year-to-date, close to a year-to-date identifier as it relates to where we are with our top crimes: homicide, rapes, robberies, burglaries. Again, you see these numbers continue to increase as it relates to homicide and rape. Aggravated assault trended just a tad bit high, but did not tick above the percentage that we have been the trajectory we've been going for the rest of the year, at the beginning of the year, and the auto theft numbers as well continue to come down. We're seeing 62, so the crime numbers for this year compared to last year is just slightly under. This slide is a breakdown of homicides by zones. Zone 1 and Zone 3 at the beginning of the quarter were our more zones that had the most homicides. Zone 6 came in at third. Traditionally, and I don't say that without some seriousness, traditionally, one of the things that we've seen as it relates to Zone 1 and Zone 3 is these are the two zones that traditionally have the highest level of homicide rates as far as I can remember. And what we are seeing in the first quarter, as opposed to what we were seeing last year. Last year, the conversation was clearly around what we were doing around our nightlife, what was happening in the buckhead space, and what was happening at the nightclubs. We put a plan in place, a strategy in place to address those. Now what we're seeing is more incidences are happening within the residential boundaries of Zone 1 and Zone 3. Zone 6 is a blended of some activities in apartments as well as the nightlife area. The next slide is an indicator of again, where we are year to date, where what you see is Zone 3 surpasses Zone 1. That is concerning for what we're seeing in the Zone 3 space. I want to be clear that we're not seeing any significant pattern as it relates to what we're seeing around these homicides. escalating violence or conflict resolution continue to be the number one reason that we see these level of homicides that we're seeing in the city of Atlanta. Additionally, generally the perpetrator and the suspect, the perpetrator and the victim generally have some level of correlations or have interacted with each other sometime prior to getting involved in this act. Zone 5 that now takes the lead as it relates to what we're seeing. Again, this is concerning because this is our downtown space. One of the things that I talked to the team about this morning, and we are noticing, is that activities are starting to change from what we are seeing in the streets to these more secure apartment complexes, which are traditionally we would see violence play out in standalone multi-residential apartment complexes. Now what we're seeing is they are starting to play out within these more secured locations that may have a concierge desk or something of that nature. And we're working on a strategy to see how we can infiltrate that and intervene in those areas. The shootings, as you can tell, again, they correlate to what we're seeing with the homicides, where Zone 1 and 4 have had the most shooting victims as it relates to the beginning of the year, the first quarter. Zone 4 is right behind them, and then Zone 5. I think that what we will see in Zone 1, we've deployed ShotSpotter in Zone 1 for the next 90 days. It's a test pilot. I know a lot of people are concerned about we had it previously. The way we are rolling it out this year is much different than what we did last year. The years previous. The years previous, we deployed ShotSpotter and just had it being dispatched through 911. There's a much more defined strategy and plan as we deploy, utilizing the camera system as well to respond to what we're seeing. So it gives us the ability to respond much quicker, and be able to identify perpetrators of these shootings a lot easier than we have in the past as well. As we look at shooting victims year to date as well, Zone 3 surpasses Zone 1 again, and this is very concerning to what we're seeing in the Zone 3 space. I think that, again, with the proliferation of weaponry that we're seeing, this is something that we are going to have to address a little differently as well on responding to what we're seeing with these shooting victims. There is a concern as it relates to our medical responses as it relates to some of these shootings, and I won't say that it's a contributing factor to our homicide because we've not looked into it as of yet, but I think it's something that we really need to pay attention to as well. The next one, I thought that it was important. I know that everyone wants to know where we are as it relates to attrition and recruitment, and so I wanted this to be a part of this presentation. Year to date, we've had 2,224 applications, where we've completed 1,283. Compared to last year, where we had 392 by this time and 276. And so we're doing a phenomenal job as it relates to going through our background and recruitment and getting people to be attracted to the Atlanta Police Department. That number is offset by our attrition, but we're still doing really good. Right now, we've had 27 people leave the Atlanta Police Department due to resignation. That's not that much significant over where we were last year. 14 and go to retirement. Again, that number is not much different than where we were last year as well. One of the things that we will be implementing inside the Atlanta Police Department is an officer who will be speaking to people prior to them leaving to make sure that they are fully aware of sometimes people can be misinformed and leave our police department and then try to come back after they recognize benefits aren't greater in other places. And we want to be able to slow that trend down by educating them prior to getting out. Our new hire comparison in 2022, this is from January 1 to now, we have 59 people on board compared to where we were last year this time at 22. Our training academy report. I want know a lot of many of you all like to attend the graduations or at least be aware of where we are with the graduations. Right now, we have 137 total recruits. 5 of those are from lateral programs. In class 272, that class will graduate in June. There are 15 trainees in that class currently. 273, there's 17. They should graduate in August of 16. Class 274 have 29 trainees. They're graduating 23, January of 23. In Class 0, we have 76 recruits currently. Class 0 is the recruits that we've not put into a academy class as of yet. However, the next class will start one class should start in April, and the next class will start in May, giving us a total of 6 academy classes this year alone, which is, we hadn't seen 6 classes in years. So I think that's a testament to the men and women in background and recruitment doing a phenomenal job in making sure that we are getting out and reaching applicants and backfilling the positions that we find vacant. And then lastly, I think it's always important that we talk about what we're doing in the space of community service. Our police athletic league continue to do a phenomenal job and continue to have their level of outreach. It was one of the things that I think that is important, if I have not said it enough, throughout our entire 2020 and 2021, when most social services type community service events for our youth was shut down, the Police Athletic League remained active and going out and addressing the kids. And so I think that, again, this is another group that should be commended for all the work that they've done over the past few years, and particularly the last quarter. And that's my report, and I'm prepared for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief Bryant. Colleagues, if you'd like to speak, please indicate on your speaker button. I'm going to defer to my colleagues first. First, we'll have Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you, Chief Bryant, for your presentation. So I just want to talk a little bit more about those numbers because, of course, everyone in Atlanta saw that we are number 3 nationally, ranked with the most homicides, 3rd, only to like New Orleans and Cincinnati. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because the numbers that you show today, while they give us an indication of where we are compared to, yesterday, last week, last month, I do want to look at how we fare in percentages compared to a couple years ago, just see where those numbers are. And I know you probably don't have that today, but, maybe for the next public safety meeting, we could probably, look into that because, the only way to get to where we're going is to know where we're coming from. And we want to be clear about our path out of this homicide rage. It's just really raging out of control. We know we all hear the stories each and every day that we're turning on the television, and it's alarming. So I do appreciate you bringing the numbers to us each week, even if they're not the numbers that you'd like to bring, because this is what we have to do. I would also like to say that according to that same article, it's not just Atlanta. Homicide rates have increased throughout the United States. So it's not just our problem or something that's happening here in the South. It's actually, everywhere. But our numbers are more alarming because we've never been considered, a homicide capital per se. We don't want to be. So I don't know. I just really think that we need to continue all of the efforts that we've had, continue to track the numbers as you're doing diligently, and continue with all of the plans that we have in place. Correcting attrition is a wonderful way to do that. I love the legislation that I have coming forward today, giving out the using our money wisely to support our men and women of public safety, our first responders. It's important that we continue on the path of hiring the best and the brightest and fortifying them with their due diligence. I really do think that it's important for us to spend our budget on public safety and taking care of the people that take care of all of us, not just public safety, but even, with the Department of Public Works. I just think that we should spend our money in a way that takes care of the city. And I think that that's a way for us to climb out of this. I really do. But I guess I just wanted you to talk about your thoughts of what we've seen on TV in the last week or so.
Absolutely. So generally when we see a report like that, what the report actually stated was that we were seeing the highest increases as it relates to homicides. And so one of the things that we have to take a look at is to see where they got their numbers from. Generally, we get a report from major city chiefs, and so it gives us the ability to have a better analysis of what we are seeing throughout the country. And so we'll do that once we get that report from them. But again, as I reported, I think that some of the initiatives that we are putting in place is we are seeing our aggravated assault numbers come down, and that's important to us because those are what are preludes to our homicides. And generally, we do not see one number go in one direction, the other one go in the other. We normally see both of those numbers in an upward trajectory. So that is an indicator that some of the strategies that we are putting in place as it relates to fighting violent crime, we are seeing that number come down. We recognize that we will run across some challenges throughout this summer as we are seeing more guns on the street. And so that is a very concerning part to us as well. But we'll continue to lean in on some of our partnerships with the Fulton County Sheriff Department, Georgia State Patrol. We're having a conversation with the ATF going into this summer on how we can do things differently. We have a strong working relationship with our federal partners. So one of the things I can say, Council Member, is every time when you see the alignment that you have with our council, administration, our DA's office, our Fulton County, our federal partners, when all of us are working in alignment, it's just a matter of time for us to turn this around. It didn't take we didn't get here in one day, and we're not going to get out of here in one day. However, I do believe that the strategy in place, the dedication that we have, and the commitment we have from the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department, we'll struggle through this and get it in the right direction.
Okay, thank you for that. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what it all takes is for us to actually recognize what we're working towards and why, and that's what these numbers represent and your commitment represents. What about the fact that now we have new gun rules where you don't need a license to conceal your weapons? So speaking of having more guns on the streets, I see that multiplying over the years to come if we don't, if this actually becomes something that most people partake in. I know that there are probably plenty of families that feel afraid about the fact that, you no longer need a license to carry. Can you educate our public a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I just spoke about this just recently, and I tell you, the law itself doesn't affect criminals. Criminals didn't pay attention to the law at the onset, so it didn't make it any difference for them at all. What we anticipate will happen is it now makes it just a bit difficult for us to really intervene in getting additional guns off of the street, because now more people can have them. Even if we do see this bad guy with a weapon on him, we have to work harder to be able to get that gun off of him, because just because we see the bulge now doesn't mean that we can go into it the same way. So we have to better train our men and women of the police department to be able to intervene in situations like that, where I think we will see increases in people, as we've seen since 2019, this increase of conflict resolution. People who have the right to have a gun will now carry them without any regulations. And if they get into an argument, we will see that gun play out with more people who typically wouldn't have had that situation play. They wouldn't have resulted to that level of violence.
Got it. And that's what I see too. That's when I'm looking at my crystal ball. I actually see that happening also, which it's kind of unfortunate actually, because I don't want to always think that the best way to solve an issue is to pull your gun out. So hopefully, that won't happen in that manner. But I just wanted to know your thoughts about that, publicly, because I do know that it's real. People are asking us, what are we supposed to be doing now? Because everyone can have guns without licenses, and I'm just curious as to how the APD is going to respond to that in the long run. But from what I hear you saying, it just looks like, more communication, with APD officers to talk about the training that we've all invested in, and just doing what we do best, and that's taking care of the public. So I really appreciate your presentation today.
Thank you.
I have no more questions. Thank you, Chair.
Next is Councilmember Norwood.
Good afternoon, Chief. Can you update us on how the nightlife training session went on Saturday? Do you have any information on that?
Yes, ma'am. I did not attend it. However, we did have representation there. My understanding that there was a great showing, and it was well received. I think that this nightlife training will be quite beneficial. One of the things that we were seeing, and I think that one of the things that we were seeing as it relates to nightlife activity and the shootings that played out at clubs, is the incident generally was happening inside of a club, and then it would it found its way outside where it turned more violent. I think this level of educating, talking to these club owners and letting them, holding them responsible for what's happening in their club, and then giving them a better way of mediating those situations, we will begin to see those decreases. Again, it's not just an all-out effort on them. The Atlanta Police Department has a responsibility as well on how we respond, what we do when we get there. But I think when you have when you have club owners having a vested interest in their patrons and the safety of their patrons, and then we are able to assist that and have a stronger dialogue, I think that it'll allow us to see those numbers reduced, such as we've been seeing in the past.
Okay. The second thing is there was the shooting at Centennial Olympic Park where juveniles were on scooters. Have y'all gotten any information on who paid for those scooters? I can't imagine a 15-year-old would have a credit card to write to then get the scooter. Were they? Do y'all have anything on how our underage young people are running around on scooters?
It is, and that's a great question, Council Member. This is something that we were challenged with clearly. Many of you all know last year we're going into this very same year with that very same challenge. What we do know is some of them are paying, but the other part is we've gotten information that they are hacking into the systems. Now, how they are doing that, we don't know, but we do know that they're getting into those systems, and it is becoming a serious problem for us. Over the weekend, scooters were in a number of our police reports where it was the mode of transportation for the perpetrator of an incident.
So, okay, so you're looking into
Absolutely.
how the hacking is going on.
Yes, so as well as having a conversation, we'll be reaching out to ADOT as well. We reached out and had a conversation with them in the past as they legislate how these scooters are functioning in the city of Atlanta, and we'll talk to them again, especially over what we're seeing on the horizon of the summer.
Okay. The next thing is on the paper tags. There's a proliferation of paper tags on these cars, and so the license plate readers they capture a paper tag, but there's very little way, as I understand it, of going after them. Should we get the state legislature to require that all vehicle transactions, sales, have to be registered in some way? So if you're running around our community with a paper tag, we can track who you are, because I know you can't stop them unless they are violating a city ordinance or a law. But